Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, friends, readers, listeners, and viewers from all around the world, wherever you may be tuning in. We appreciate your patronage, your fellowship, your questions, and your interest in the things that we've been bringing forth here. And it's exciting to speak with other fellow, even not fellow like-minded, truth seekers. You know, people, we can have differing opinions, but for those that are really truth seekers that have an open mind to study things that even go against the normal grain of things and the normal belief systems, accepted realities of mainstream society and churchianity. And so today we're going to talk about Bible codes. And just so you know, I'm by far no expert on Bible codes, even though this one particular website that I did post a link to, BibleCodeWisdom.com, it does give you the ability, somehow they've created the programming so that it allows you to search in English, which is a great convenience for those of us that don't speak Hebrew and are not able to utilize those programs that require you to do so. And so that's one of the benefits of this particular site, and that's also why I wanted to share it with you, because it gives you the ability to, play around with it yourself, to search different word groups and different ideas and see how, and if they are reflected within the Bible code. And for those that have no idea as far as the Bible code and how it works, it's all based on equal distance letter sequencing. And we're going to talk about all that, but I want to introduce Roman White. He's also here with us. He's going to be co-hosting with me tonight, and we're going to be sharing some dialogue about these and other things. Roman, you want to give a shout out?
Yeah, Zen. How's everything going with you tonight?
Everything's wonderful, brother. I'm still blessed, and I'm a good health and well-being, and I'm grateful for that, and I just give all glory to the Lord for it. And I pray that all of you out there, and you as well, Roman, that you're feeling the same.
Bible codes is something that I find interesting, to say the least. Don't know a whole lot about it, but maybe I'll learn something tonight.
Yeah, well, maybe we all will. Who knows? We'll just allow Spirit to lead the conversation, and we'll see where it goes. But it's always interesting to share time and space with you anyway. So it always seems to make for interesting dialogue and conversation. So we'll see where it all goes. But wanted to start first with some recent news events, some current stories that are affecting the populace and that are in the minds of a lot of people that are, truth seekers and patriots, constitutionalists, Christians across America, because it seems like at every step of the way, every turn, left and right, no matter what it is for, that people are being attacked for their belief systems or because of their stances, their opinions, or their perspectives on issues. And, everybody still believes, a lot of people are waking up to the fact that we are not a country run under the Constitution anymore, that with the introduction, the adherence, and the transition to the Patriot Act, that truly we live in that dictatorial nightmare that Orwell laid out of 1984, where you have government utilizing every tool and technique it can to track, trace, record, and compile data, evidence on each one of us, no matter who it is, whether you're a criminal or not. But that all of this data is being collected, profiles are being created, and certain individuals are being targeted. And currently there's news stories about how certain vets have been, even one in particular was kidnapped out of his, basically taken out of his house by federal agents, FBI, CIA, and taken indefinitely, detained for a short period of time. He had no right to jury, or to even question where he was being taken. And that's the nightmare scenario of what we're living here with in America, because this is the kind of stuff that took place in the early rise of the Nazi regime to power, and how the SS and the brown shirts there oppressed the people and utilized these same techniques to institute what they had as, Homeland Security, the same thing. Roman, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, there was a preacher that I heard about that apparently put up a billboard or some type of sign or something. Anyway, he had a reference to a Bible verse, and the Bible verse said something to the effect of, may the ruler's reign be short and may he be replaced. and they picked him up over that. They wanted to make sure that that wasn't some type of a veiled threat against the king.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's where we are. And so, especially for veterans, just be aware. Just be aware. And those of you that, think that we're living in a free society, in a free America, it seems like we've crossed some line somewhere. And a lot of you have also studied into, become aware of, and investigated FEMA camps and the possibility of impending martial law, and how all that, the faculty for doing that has all been put into place by not only Obama, but Bush before him, and several other presidents going back to as early as Reagan, Oliver North, and the whole Iran-Contra affair, Rex 84, all of that. And so I just want to say this about that, and then I'm going to get Roman to comment on this as well. If you look into the history of how things that, unfolded with World War II and the Hitler rise, and again, I'm no expert at this as well, but, this is just not, you don't even have to study deeply to find this out, but about how the Nazi regime, when they came to power, they were able to invade other countries, and once they were in possession and occupying these countries, they were then able to put into place an agenda that was directed at decimating and eradicating certain populations of people from their gene pool. And so they utilized all kinds of different techniques, but we have heard about the death camps and the concentration camps, and the way that they had gassed and even gunned down and buried, all the different nightmare ways that they eradicated people and tortured people and decimated people during those times. And this included also people with disabilities and people homo that were considered homosexuals, political dissidents, anybody that was just simply a target of government. And it didn't matter what label it was that they put on you. It could be that whole enemy combatant thing, because when you're an enemy combatant, you're stripped of your rights as an American citizen to all of those constitutional Bill of Rights, habeas corpus rights, right to a speedy jury trial, the right to know what you're being detained for, all those different things. Once you're an enemy combatant and you're declared a domestic terrorist, according to the Patriot Act, you no longer have access to any kind of civil liberty like that, or any kind of freedom. And so you have to be aware of what we're living with. And a lot of you still believe that American citizens aren't treated this way, and that torture has only been established for the terrorists, the terrorists to garner information only in those special occasions where such circumstances require extraordinary measures, as Dick Cheney would say. And so, people have been murdered, being tortured to death, and that torture is a regular implement and tool of policy. And we don't know exactly how much it's being utilized, where it's being done, who it's being done to, because all these things are in the dark and they're all secretive. But the fact that we allow that here in our country, and that they're doing these things in our name, it's my opinion that also will just only bring judgment, because the Lord doesn't want us to do that. He wants us to stand for those values and freedoms and things that we held in high regard as a people prior to 9/11, the implementation of Patriot Act, the whole 24 episodes, and how they seem to glorify torture and the need for it. One last comment here, and then I'll get you to comment, Roman. I saw this interview between Jesse Ventura, and he was actually on The View with all those different women that are on that show, and the Elizabeth Hasselbeck, she was trying to support and give reason and declare why it was necessary for America to do these things. And Jesse Ventura really, as a Navy SEAL, as one has gone through the program, and as one that has, who's studied and knows about these things, he brought to light the injustice and the severity of the unholy nature of torture and such behavior. Roman?
Basically anybody that agrees with the government is a domestic terrorist. And you mentioned Rex 84. It actually goes back a lot further than that. The first time I began to hear about this concentration camp program was in 1978, I believe. And it was being referred to then as Operation Garden Plot and Cable Splicer. Went to a seminar and listened to a guy by the name of Bill Pabst, who put the seminar on. He was an attorney. And at that time, they had all of these concentration camps, or a number of them, already built, particularly one up in Alaska, which would be the United States equivalent of Siberia. And these are cross-hatched off where they couldn't be flown over, at least at that time. And they had guards in there that they weren't teaching a foreign language to. So this thing, it really goes back a long, long way. It was at that time being funded in, or the local police were being brought in through LEAA, which was an assistance program to local law enforcement where they could draw government funds for their equipment and so forth and so on. So this thing's been building up for, 35 years, something like that. A long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I really think that anybody that's critical of government or the administration or what's going on or in any way, they're immediately targeted and singled out, put on a list for an eventual pickup, which you and I are probably on that list then. But it's not going to be pretty when it comes. Another thing that I heard about on several different talk shows this week, supposedly it's leaked out that in the third week of October, something is coming down, so you can mark that on your calendar and look out. It's being hinted that it will be some type of a banking crisis with the close down and or the kicking off of the war against Iran. And as soon as that comes about, of course, the hue and cry is going to be that we have domestic terrorists that are cooperating with Iran. And Iran has an extensive biological weapon, and I'm sure that they've got sleeper cells. It would be easy for someone to simply walk down a shopping mall or something like that, have something that appeared to be a cell phone with a little button on it, and press the button, and behind them sprays out this mist of some type of biological weapon. Nobody would even think anything about that, and everybody in the shopping mall, would be exposed to some type of a biological weapon. And whenever that comes down, they're going to demonize anybody that has protested or said something about the fact that they don't like the way the government's going, or talked about the concentration camps or these various things. They're subject to be rounded up and stuck into those type of facilities.
Well, I'm going to say this about these FEMA camps and concentration camps, and if you look at this as far as history again. Before Hitler came to rise, his regime came to power. If you study this, the infrastructure that became that which was being utilized as a tool to decimate the different peoples that were being eradicated, the Hebrew peoples, the different ones, the political dissidents, all those that were being murdered, that were being killed, that were being tortured. The elite of those various countries had already built up and put into place that infrastructure so that when World War II was declared and the Nazis came in and occupied these various countries, they had quick access and easy availability to start their master plan. And if you look at the situation of what we're faced with and dealing with in this country, with all of these bases being reported all over the country that have been emptied and made available through the Base Realignment and Closure Act that has been put into place several presidents ago. They've been decimating our military power, and they've been moving all these bases, emptying them out, and supposedly they're manned already by United Nations. That foreign troops are already within our country and occupying these particular bases. It makes you wonder, okay, so why, what's the reason, what do they plan on doing, Because you don't just pay for these things. And just like with World War II, these particular kind of things were built, put into place, and sat empty until they were needed. Well,
all of the laws and infrastructure for this has been put in place for a long, long time, and when it comes down, it's going to be probably a lot worse than Nazi Germany. People don't think about the amount of information that they freely give away about themselves. Like if you have one of these points cards or something like that, when you go into a grocery store, whatever type of store, Best Buy, whatever, and you give them that card, they know who you are, where you live, how you are paying for each individual item, what the item is, how much it costs, whether you paid for it by check or with cash or with a credit card. They know all of this. Can you imagine what Hitler would do with all of that amount of knowledge? You might as well give somebody a running total of everything that you buy and all of that, and let them put it in a database and it go all over the world. It's crazy to do that, to do something like that, to give away that much information about yourself. Can you imagine what Hitler would do with a system that was computerized, that he could punch up and get a complete dossier of what everybody bought?
Wherever they went,
it's just astounding that people will give that away for a few cents on the dollar savings. Yeah,
if they just put, even with the RFID chip that's in your credit card, or the global positioning with your cell phone, they already have a pattern of behavior. So they know where people are at according to certain times of the day, just by their schedules, their passions, their pleasures, and their daily routines. And so how difficult.
They can predict where you're going before you ever leave the house with about 90% accuracy.
Right, exactly. And so now, you're basically guilty until proven innocent, and they can come in and detain you and go into your house, search and seize anything they want. I'm going to just read real quick the story of this particular vet. His name is Rob Brandon, and then we'll go into the Bible codes here. We still have a little bit of time. Anyways, this is about other Marines as well, so this will give you an idea of what an attorney that is representing this guy has to say about this issue as well, because he's saying that really right now it's a big problem already. Marine veteran Brandon Robb's attorney says he is getting calls from veterans and people all over the country reporting psychiatric detention for political speech. Last Thursday, decorated former U.S. Marine Brandon Robb, who served 2 tour of duties in Iraq and Afghanistan, was detained by the FBI and local authorities for posting controversial messages on the social media site Facebook. Although 26-year-old Brandon Robb was forcefully detained against his will for his political views, he was not charged with any criminal misconduct. A hallmark of the Nazi Gestapo facto of indefinite psychiatric detention, which was used to crush political dissent back in that day. John Whitehead, a constitutional attorney representing Robb, discussed how the U.S. government violated his client's First Amendment rights. He also made an appearance on GBTV with Glenn Beck, in which he made even more shocking revelations. Whitehead tells Beck that he's getting calls from military veterans all over the country, subjected to the same Nazi-style psychiatric detention for their political viewpoints. More alarming is that when Beck asked if people of left-wing ideology, specifically members of Occupy Wall Street, are being detained, Whitehead responded saying he can't say for sure because people all over the country are just disappearing. He also reveals that while Robb was in psychiatric detention, one of the psychiatrists that he was seeing threatened to brainwash him and force him to take medication. You can go and watch the whole interview on Fox, look it up under Glenn Beck, but here's another thing that he said. 1 second, Roman, then I'll get to comment. Attorney of former Marine detained for Facebook post, psychiatric threatened to brainwash my client with meds. Whitehead told Beck that he and his organization are planning to sue over a provision in Virginia state law that allows authorities to place a person in emergency custody and hold them for 4 hours unless the magistrate enters a temporary detention order. Robb was held under this law, this Virginia code, for days. So these are the kind of things that are being done all across the country right now. Veterans are disappearing, constitutionalists, Christians even are being targeted, and who knows? Even your own neighbor might have disappeared. We don't know at this point. Robert.
Well, the bad thing about all of this is, they get you in one of these psychiatric facilities, and they shoot you up with Halidol, and then you sit there in a chair, bound in, and all you can do is drool and, stare at the ceiling because you're completely out of it. One of the things that this seminar that I went to back in 78 or 79 that Mr. Pabst mentioned was the fact that with electrical shocks, they could create muscle contractions so violent that they would break all of the bones in the body, and the person would die. So they shoot them up with muscle relaxants, and then they can just turn the juice up and juice you all they want. Your muscles won't contract. Your skeletal structure won't be broken. You just sit there in agony as they go on and on and on with this in the name of psychiatric treatment.
It's wonderful that you mentioned this because I'm actually going to be bringing on a Wednesday night broadcast a Dr. Howard Mandel that is against this forced electrical shock therapy, and he's going to talk about the cases and people that are suffering across the country right now, because this kind of thing is still being done. And we don't even understand how much people are being disappeared in places like that. These nursing homes and out-of-the-way institutions where people have no idea as to what is being done, what kind of experimentation, what kind of treatment, because they consider all this treatment. And so, yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for anybody that is forced.
It's right
to
out
go
of a
through
Frankenstein movie.
Exactly. And we're talking about, America, the home of the free, land of the brave, supposedly. And it's insane to think how far it has come in so short a time, brother. Because, so many people were in such denial before, but now people are being forced to wake up to the ugly reality of the fact that this nation, this world, we as a people, we're in trouble. The lunatics are driving us over the cliff, so, brother.
Yeah, well, the lunatics are running the insane asylum.
Yeah, exactly.
This psychiatric stuff is really, really bad. I mean, there's once they get you in there and dope you up, there's no limit to what they can do to you. You can be experimented on. The Hitler's experiments with the Angel of Death. I forgot the guy's name, but shooting people up with gasoline and this and that and something else. And some of the stuff that they did was just, it's unbelievable. And to think that we are facing that in this country is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, they've even got it instituted so that if they declare that your child is in need of medication against the parents' will, if you do not medicate your child, they will take them from you. And this has happened across the country in a lot of different places, and it's been set up as policy and as pretense that de facto the state authorities, that they can trump parental rights in determining the psychiatric condition of children and whether they should be medicated or not. And this at the same time that they're being paid and wined and dined and given benefit by the pharmaceutical companies. And so, it's like I remember also this California judge that recently got busted. He was being paid by the privately owned detention centers, the private, not the state or public run prison systems, but the private for-profit prison systems in California to incarcerate children, and that he was meeting a certain quota of detention and getting paid big bucks for it. And this wasn't just one judge, but they found that this was going on, and that this was a policy that the drug companies had implemented with certain officials of the judiciary. And so these are the kind of underhanded, shady background deals that cause people to suffer. Go ahead, Robert. One more comment here, and then we're going to go into this Bible code stuff.
Well, like I say, it's just unbelievable when I look at what I grew up in as a free society and what it's become today. It's absolutely shocking. And like I say, we can expect once the martial law is declared, nobody's going to be safe. Talk about missing people. Look at what happened. What was it in Argentina or one of those countries down there in South America where all those people were, they just disappeared in the middle of the night. Nobody knows what happened to them. They're just gone. No attorney, no calls to family, no nothing. You're here one day, gone the next. And that's what we're looking at, folks.
Well, see, here's another thing as far as history, people, and if you go back and you do some research on how that happened in, like, Central America, El Salvador, Colombia, because there's still kidnappings happening on a massive scale in those particular countries, especially in Colombia. But a lot of these people that ended up committing these atrocities and doing these behaviors were those that were raised and trained right here in America under the School of Americas, which is right here in Georgia at a place called Fort Benning. And they teach these special forces troops from all these different countries to perform the behaviors and to implement these policies. And all that they did when they sent them back to perform these, what were called, the Guatemalan experiment, which are talking about massacres, the things that they did down there, and how the CIA was able to corrupt individuals by, allowing them to be part of these elitist groups and also paying them sums of money and, giving them elite status, and how these people would commit such behaviors. And it's the same thing with our own, the American agents and people that are on a domestic shores, because they corrupt individuals in the same way. But anyways,
you got a pretty good look at what could happen to you with this gal down in Florida. I forgot her name, but they withheld food and water for 4, 5, 6 days here several years ago until she finally died. Who wants to go that way? You begin to bleed out your eyes and so forth when you're deprived of water, and they give her no liquids and just let her, when the entire country can view something like that and get a day-to-day report on how it's going, it's a little wonder to me that when God punishes a nation, he punishes a nation based on what their leaders have done, but he also punishes the population because that population has allowed that leader to do that, or he wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly. I fully agree with you, Robert, and that's also why I think that America is ripe for judgment, in that the leaders have driven this country so far away from the foundations, how this country was based, and we know that also the Illuminists, the Masons, were also part of government or in the early stages. But initially it was based on the belief in God and the founding on those principles which supported that belief system. And the Constitution, even though it was written at a time where slavery exists and there was not equality of men, it tried to outline those principles and to extend them to everybody everywhere. And it was later that that those ideals really led our country to be and to reap the benefits and rewards of being a blessed nation, because America was such a good nation in its early founding, and we tried to help others and to not oppress others and to extend the freedoms. A lot of countries base their own governments and way that governments were brought up and instituted based on that whole experiment of what happened here. And really, it's only because the foundations were so strong initially that we still have any semblance of freedom, because it's taken them that long to decimate the beauty that was the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the habeas corpus and how it was enshrined into law and how we used to be a country of principle that was governed by a rule of law. But it seems that, that whole dream is now faded. It's turned into a nightmare.
Well, Zen, I'd ask people to remember that when this happens, you're getting exactly what you deserve. When this happens to you and you pray and you say, oh, God, I don't deserve this. I didn't have any part in this. I didn't do any of this. Why am I being punished? And the answer is because you allowed it to be done.
Yeah, it's true. How many of us really have stood up and declared the inhuman and unholy nature of the torture that our country condones? And those extraordinary rendition, which is basically kidnapping. I mean, and all the people that have died within custody, they got no justice. Their families might have been paid off some small semblance of reward, but I mean, really, the sins of that nature, how heavy must they weigh on a country and its people? And really, how much more? How tolerant can the Lord be with us? How much more can He allow to happen?
Well,
how
ancient
long?
Israel.
Okay. Go ahead.
Ancient Israel was punished as far as its people go, not so much for what the people themselves did, but for what they allowed their rulers to do. The same is going to come true here.
Well, yeah, the whole reason the temple was burned down and they were taken into captivity is because they were turned to be a wicked people. And we are that wicked people. We are a wicked nation. We're no longer a nation that is holy before the Lord. And that's a sad thing, because so many people really, in this country, so many people really still have good hearts and wish, goodness to everybody everywhere, and want those same freedom, values, and principles that we grew up with as children that have since disappeared, to be extended to all people everywhere. Really, America's heart, in the heart of its people, it really are aligned that way. But the leaders and the representatives that we allow to remain in office, even though, the whole voting thing, in my opinion, is rigged and it's all just a show anyways. That we are not
all
a
it takes for evil
citizenry.
to succeed is for good people to do nothing.
Exactly, right. Edmund Burke, right? That's who that was? All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about these Bible codes, because I want people to look this up for yourself, and I want you to know how to look up a matrix and to understand what it is you're doing when it is you're trying to put together a matrix anyways. So if you have access to computer, if you are connected to the internet, go to BibleCodeWisdom.com. I'm going to paste the link in the chat room. Now, we're going to go over 3 matrices that I personally have found myself, and you're going to give confirmation to these matrices that I found. We're going to talk a little bit about them, and then I'll explain. And again, I by far am no expert, okay? But I'm going to just tell you the little bit that I learned in doing what I've done by just studying these 3 matrices. Roman, you're connected to computer too?
Yes.
Okay, brother. I want you to do this as well. Everybody go to BibleCodeWisdom.com. In the search bar where it says Enter Query, I want you to type Cain, C-A-I-N, space, Devil, D-E-V-I-L. And then space Son, S-O-N, and then space Seed, S-E-E-D. And then
say that one again.
Seed, S-E-E-D, like enmity between the seed of the woman, seed of the serpent. The next word is fruit, F-R-U-I-T. Then the next word would be tree, T-R-E-E. The next word is death, D-E-A-T-H. One more word, war, W-A-R. And then once you have this typed into your search bar, go ahead and hit enter. Now what you're going to find is that all of these words that we put into this query were found in 6 different matrices. And these matrices are found over the passages, the biblical text that you're going to find at the bottom of the page. This is significant. Now I'm going to tell you what. If you notice, in searching out this matrix, we're looking for a connection between Cain and the devil. Those were the 2 words that I started with. When I searched for them initially, there were several different matrices with these 2 words. And then I was surprised, that I found it initially. And so I began to throw in other words that I thought would be associated to those particular connections, that being Cain and his association to Satan or the devil. And for those that have studied my book, Lucifer, Father of Cain, you know that I hold in opinion that Cain was actually a son of the devil. And so that's the next word that I put in there, son. And then we know and I wanted to verify this also, because seed and the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, if Cain was indeed a child of the devil, then seed should also be found with the matrix. And sure enough, I did find seed also within that same matrix. Now, the next word, fruit. We know that fruit also is symbolic of seed. And that fruit of the tree is symbolic of being of that bloodline, of that tree line. And that the Lord utilizes tree many times within the word to represent man. And so that's why I searched for fruit. And sure enough, it was also there. The next word, tree, I wanted to confirm not only Cain's connection to the devil, but the devil's connection to Cain as well. And so he represents the tree. And so when I type this in, sure enough, you find tree associated to the matrix as well. Now the last 2 words are associated to the murder, Cain being a murderer, and also being the one that killed his brother, and how he, being of a different seed line, would be the reason you would find enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. And so here you have all of those words found not only in one matrix, but 6 different matrices, all repeating this information over and over, confirming them as witness. And so you can look, you can look through each one of the different matrices at the top just by skipping to match. And then as you click through skip to match, you'll see how the different words are found in the different matrices. Now, what is really also important and interesting about being able to search your own matrix here and to put together a word group like this to where you can kind of confirm an idea is that you can read also where the matrices were found. And if you go down to the bottom where it tells you where the verses were, what verses the matrices are found in. And interestingly enough, all of these matrices are found over the story of Genesis 2 going through Genesis 3, which talks about the seduction of Eve and also the enmity between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman, confirming that indeed Cain must have been a child of the devil, because all these words are found within the biblical Torah, and that these are because of equal distant letter sequencing that could only be brought out because of the power of computer systems and their ability to do all this in an instant. And so here you can research your own different word choice, your own different selection, to get confirmation on different ideas. Let me get Roman to comment here.
I'm just looking over these, and I found that somewhat astounding.
Jazz says she doesn't get it in the chat room. All right. Yeah, it is pretty astounding, isn't it?
The next matrix button on there will give you.
Say that one more time, Robert?
I'm looking at 4. It says War Devil Tree Cane Fruit. That's real plain.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can skip through each one of the different matrices and see how the different words play out in each one of those, and also where they align with. Because even Matrix 2 is the same thing. It's overlaid Genesis 2 to Genesis 3, which, that's also confirmation to me in my mind that, what I wrote in my 4th book is true. And again, I'm no expert at this. This is actually the first matrix and Bible code that I've ever found. And you saw how easy it was for me to do that. Let's explain it one more time for Jazz. We're going to do a different matrix here. All right. Everybody go to the top, clear out your query bar. Just empty it out. And, here's one other thing, too. In that Cain matrix, you can type this word in there, too, which gave me confirmation that Esau is also of the Canaanite line. You can type Esau, E-S-A-U, into that same Cain matrix, and you'll find him within there as well, which I thought was really interesting. All right. Here's a matrix that I just found last night. Just looking for some interesting stuff because I wanted to be able to show you how it was that I'm finding these things so that you can do it yourself. So I want you to type in the search bar, in the query bar, Iran, I-R-A-N. Now I want you to type in war, W-A-R. Next word, nuke, N-U-K-E. Next word,
Iran
fall.
war and what?
Nuke, N-U-K-E. Iran war, nuke, and then the next word, fall, F-A-L-L. Next word, Mahdi, M-A-H-D-I. Next word, E-N-D. And then the next word, death, Death. And
What
then
was the word after
enter.
fall?
The word after fall was Mahdi, Mahdi, like the last Mahdi, you know? You know the last imam that they're looking for? Mahdi. M-A-H-D-I. M-A-H-D-I.
And the
As
next
in
word?
dog and interesting. D-I. M-A-H-D-I. Now, if you mistype something, you probably won't find the matrix, so it'll tell you that it doesn't exist. All right, go ahead and search that one. Now, you'll find that this matrix exists 5 different times within the biblical text, and that this matrix is found overlaying the first book of Samuel, chapter 19, verse 21, and that it goes through the first book of Samuel, verse 5, chapter 20, which, if I read that story, it seems to be a story of David and Jonathan. I'll look at it closely, because a lot of times what you will find is that the verses that the matrices are overlaid upon have a lot to do with the message of the Torah code. Like with what we did in the first matrix with Cain, when we searched out all of those individual words and found that all of them were contained and found over Genesis chapter 2 and Genesis chapter 3, which are specifically about the seduction, fall of humanity, and also where the Lord cites the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. The very next chapter is about the birth of Cain. So here you see how all that is relevant to that particular matrix. Now, I have not read, like I said, I just found this last night. I have not read this book of Samuel, chapter 19 through 20, so I don't know if this story is relevant to that particular matrix, but this is just to give you an idea of how you can do it for yourself. And just to explain real quick for Jazz, in the chat room, for those that don't understand, basically all you have to do is start with one word. Whatever it is that you're looking to find a matrix upon, whatever it is you're trying to look up and get confirmation on, start with that one word. And then add into the search bar different words that you think might be relevant or attached to such a matrix. And then keep searching and keep adding different words and keep building up the matrix until you get a full idea of what it is that the Lord is revealing within the code. And then you can tie what the code is overlaid upon as to what part of the Torah and where the verses are found, and see if that story or that passage, that those Bible verses are indeed significant to whatever it is that's being revealed in the Torah code that you're searching. Jazz, does that make sense? All right, Roman, let me get you to comment here. You there, Roman? Okay, I'm going to keep going until Roman gets back. You don't see the word Mahdi. Oh, no. G4, you got it misspelled. That's M-A-H-D-I, not M-A-D-H-I. Okay? So G4, go ahead and search Mahdi, add that to your matrix. Roman, let me know when you're back, brother.
Oh, I'm playing with the thing.
Okay, well, after you check it out, you feel free also, people. Feel free to build on all of these matrices. I don't patent them. I don't hold them as personal property. I'm sharing them with you. Confirm them for yourself, first of all, and then add some words. See what else you can find that's connected to it. Expand upon, all these principles and all these concepts. This truth is not hoarded by me alone. You can do this for yourself. And this website, BibleCodeWisdom.com, like I said, it allows us, laymen, people that have no ability to translate the Torah or to understand Hebrew and to, translate Hebrew words into English and then search them out that way. Because that's what a lot of the older programming was based upon, was the knowledge of the Torah. And so even though I would love to have that knowledge and would love to place some focus in that way sometime to learn Hebrew, I really don't have the time. Anyway, Jazz says she's got 4. Oh, never mind. I was thinking she was talking about the Matrix. All right, Roman, let me get you to comment here, brother.
I don't know what to comment. Like I say, I'm having fun with this.
Well, do you think it's interesting that all these words were found together overlaid in one particular part? I think that's fairly interesting. And how, what's the mathematics, really? What would be the mathematics of all of these words being found all grouped together, and then also them being significant to one another? So to me, it seems like there's some interest.
I got 6 hits on this one, Obama Demon.
Oh, really? I'm sure you can find a lot of stuff on Obama too. You can, like I said, you can search out whatever it is you want. I'm going to go ahead and paste the keywords that I've been searching for here, since some people are having a hard time, so that you can search them out for yourself and get confirmation of this second matrix for yourself. Those are the words that I look for on the second matrix. And just so you know, G4, Mahdi is Mahdi. All right. I'm going to tell you about one other matrix that I found. And then we'll talk about a couple other things, because this is the last matrix that I found, and it's not going to take forever, but it is interesting in the things that it talks about. All right. Now, again, you can add your own word choices to all of these different matrices. Confirm them for yourself. All right. Let me find the other one. Okay, and this one is not very big or very long, but it's interesting. Everybody type this. Actually, I'll tell you what, I will paste this into the chat room, and then I'll give you the word search. I'll give you the different words. All right. First word is giant. Giant. The next word is alien. Alien. The next word is war. WAR. The next word is end. END. The next word is UFO. That's obvious. The next word is death, DEATH. Seems to be a lot of death tied to a lot of the end of time codes. Next word is mark, M-A-R-K, like mark of the beast, kind of. And then the next word, last word, is Cain, C-A-I-N, like, the mark on Cain. All right, and hit enter on that. And you see how these codes seem to be there. And you can see also, for those that are just listening in, if you're listening by listening by radio or by phone, you don't have internet access, can't see what's going on in the chat room, I will give you a description. Each one of the different words that you search for is highlighted in a different color. And you can see to the length that the ELS had to go to as far as the letter spacing to actually discover the words. And so if you overlay the mathematical possibility of, all of these things multiplied times each other, it's got to be just astounding that this even exists. And so here you have 3 different Bible codes that I personally found myself. I'm no pro, no expert. In fact, I have no idea really as to what I was doing initially other than just searching out words. It's much like when you're looking for information on Google and you type in a keyword to search out. And then all of that information comes up, and then you look. You might want to narrow it down, You want to narrow the search down a little bit, so you throw in another keyword, which compiles the information that much more precisely. And then you throw in another keyword, or look for a date, or add a person or an author, and then that makes it even that much more precise. You're doing the same thing here with this particular Bible Code Wisdom. And it's free. You don't have to buy the software. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to know Hebrew or understand how to translate the Torah, and how to interpret Hebrew words into English. I mean, initially when I first looked at and tried to search out these things, it was impossible. There was no way I was going to be able to do these things. And so here, this gives you the capacity and the possibility to look into it yourself. You can even search yourself out in the Torah code. Search your loved ones. You can do anything. It's just for fun. It's just for fun. But the serious nature of the answers that you might get can be confirming, as it was when I initially found that whole Cain matrix, because I found that initially after the publication of my 4th book, Lucifer, Father of Cain, because I didn't want to deceive anybody. I didn't want to lead anybody astray. I didn't want to be responsible for deceiving others, and so I wanted to know myself. I wanted to get some confirmation on this myself.
Now, don't they say that the tighter these are together, the more relevant they are?
Absolutely. Now, because a lot of matrices, when you search out Bible codes and you go and look at the different ones found, because there's a lot of websites of people that find different codes, often you'll find 2 or 3 words. That'll be the entirety of the matrix. And those are still good matrices, really. They still are. If you can find 2 or 3 words that are all close together and seem to confirm each other, that is considered a Bible code, and people do give credence to whatever information that may be presenting. But when you find 6, 7, 8 words that all seem to be associated together, all within the tight confines of maybe a few Bible verses, there seems to be something to that, something more to that than. And so, have some fun with it. Search out different things. Share it with your friends. Have them, look up some different things. See if you can, even as a family, get together and build upon matrices. Have people, your friends, get together and build upon them, because the more you build upon each one of these individual matrices, the more profound the information and the message will be and become, and the more precise it will be. Now, there's a way that you can also search out dates and times. I have no idea how to do that. I don't know how to do all that, but there is a way to do that. How you do it, I don't know, but I know that it is a possibility on the Torah Code. I would also recommend that the Code Finder Millennium Edition is a software program, I believe, that also gives you the ability to translate into English and gives you the ability to search out different things. It is one of the most favored of the Code Finder programs. There's several of them out there. This is the only one that I found where you don't have to actually download any program, and you can just utilize the website itself for your search and your inquiries, and then you can just save those and share them and send them to each other as matrices. Roman, let me get you to comment here, brother.
Like I say, I'm just playing with this. I'm fascinated with it.
Well, I hope that all of you out there, I hope that I explained it in such a way that you understand. So,
if you read up on this, does it tell you how to put in dates and so forth? Get anything out?
I'm not positive. I would think that somewhere there would be an answer to that. You can actually just contact the website, the network people that own this particular website, and ask them that directly, because I would think that they would, at least if they didn't have the answer, be able to get it for you.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Another thing that was really interesting about these 3 matrices is that this is just my own personal just word gathering and word grouping and searching these different matrices out. It didn't take me long at all, just a few minutes of sitting before the computer, and like I said, just adding what I thought were different keywords that I thought would be relevant to what it was that I was searching for. And the Torah codes, that for that those that don't know, the Michael Drosnin also wrote a book, and he talked about these Torah codes, and then there was a paper that was written about a statistical code that was found in the book of Genesis, and it was published in Statistical Science. This paper was presented to the scientific community as a challenging puzzle, and then there was some code breakers that got involved that worked for the government and NSA that wanted to either confirm this or to destroy the integrity of it. And after creating a program which might confirm this or not, found that it was true. And so ever since then, there's been serious research into the Bible code by scholars from all over the world. One of the things that they were able to, and this was to verify that there's authenticity to the particular code, is that they were able to look up different rabbis and particular Hebrew Jewish leaders of different periods of time. And they found each one of these encoded within the Torah code, but they also found them encoded with certain other keywords that were connected to each one of those particular rabbis individually. And so, and this was, based on a book that was written thousands of years before the lives of those particular patriarchs. And so, whether you think there's anything to the Bible code or not, I'm not here to debate you on the relevancy and as to whether it's inspired or not. It just seems interesting to me that the statistical possibilities or impossibilities of putting together codes like this and being able to search out these matrices for yourself seems to be an empowering kind of tool, in my opinion. One that may be able to help, each one of us individually in our walk, and also maybe another tool for truth seekers to confirm whatever it is they are researching for themselves in their, in each one of our daily walks and our daily lives, because so many of us are waking up to so many things. Roman, we've got just about 14 minutes, brother. I would just get you to comment on the state of the world, where you think we're going, what you see over the horizon for the next couple months, because I think these are critical times, especially September and October, because that whole deadline with Iran, with them being able to garner enough nuclear material to actually equip one of those Shab 3 missiles and actually reach Israel in cataclysmic detonation if they then so desire. And so Israel has, with just a few short months as a window to do something if they are in fact going to do it. And the tensions between Syria and all that's going on there, Russia, China, it's just a conflagration waiting to happen.
Well, of course, one of the things I think is going to happen before the end of the year is that the dollar is going to virtually collapse. We're probably going to have martial law. And I'm basing that primarily off of Lindsey Williams and what his elite friends have told him. I've watched this man for a number of years, and he has hit and hit and hit again and again and again. The things that he would say that are going to come about, people would laugh and scoff at. And they pretty well come about just exactly as he outlined them. And he says before the end of the year, his elite friend says the dollar will be dead. That doesn't mean non-existent. It just means that you won't be using it. And the thing about the bank holiday and so forth that's rumored to come out, and so all seems like to me it's falling into place. I had another an email, actually. They were trying to sell something, but one of the things that they said was that by January 1st, I believe it was $1.2 trillion worth of tax increases and cuts were coming in.
Right.
Which, will throw a bunch of people out of work, a bunch more people out of work. Another thing, one of the elites told Lindsey Williams that by the end of 2012, the American people would be too poor to resist the New World Order.
Wow.
Some of the other things that he said was that if it's written on paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. So, you know, if you're holding dollars or stocks or bonds or anything like that, get out of them now.
Hey, Roman, can you tell people a little bit about Lindsey William and who he is? Because the brother has a special connection to the elitist groups, and I do believe he is a harbinger in that he's a watchman on the wall, and he's been given the okay by them to share that side of the story and to allow us the insight into the plans of the New World Order and where they want to take it.
Lindsey Williams was a Baptist preacher, and when they were building the pipeline back in, I think, 1974, 75, the Alaskan pipeline, he went up to Alaska and asked if he could be their chaplain. Of course, nobody had even heard of ever having a chaplain on a pipeline. They put him in, and he was saving them so much money and psychiatric help for their people that were working on the pipeline that they gave him executive status. And for about 3 years, he lived with these people. And he found out that there is a group of people that do, in fact, control the world. And over the years, he stayed in touch with these people, and they tell him various and sundry things, like, you know, when crude oil was at right around $50 an ounce back in, $50 a barrel back in, I believe it was around 1985. And it looked like it was just going to go up and up and up. The elite told him that it was going to go down to $10 a barrel. And sure enough, in about two months, that's exactly what it did. So it's been uncanny. The things that he has said that crude oil was going to do, which crude oil directly affects the value of the dollar. If oil's going up, the dollar's going down, or vice versa. So, you know, if you watch crude oil and it's rising, you can bet your dollars are going down because they're petrodollars. That's the only thing that backs it up. And crude oil's rising right now, as is gold, as is silver. You know, and they've tried to force the price down, and they have successfully. And the elite of the world and the central banks, which had heretofore been sellers, are now buyers, and they're buying the stuff. Particularly China and Russia are buying it just hand over fist, all they can get their hands on. Because everybody pretty well knows that a collapse is coming.
Right.
Another thing that Lindsey said was when you see the euro crash, you have between 2 and 3 weeks to get your money out of U.S. paper denominated currency, etc. So if you value your assets, a word to the wise should be sufficient.
I would also say, just real quick, that this whole veteran story and all of that roundup, that is also a harbinger, that is also a sign for us, and that we should be aware, because I think that's an important development that's not being spoken about. Go ahead, Roman.
Well, I think we went over last week, last time I was on your show anyway, of what I considered that people should be putting their money into: food and water primarily, and guns and ammunition secondarily, and silver and gold was way down on the list. But you should certainly be putting up food or anything that you want to keep. You need to buy something you can drop on your toe.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not worth a whole lot of paper won't spend.
If you did not hear that show, I was just going to say, if you did not hear that show,
Philo. I'm sorry, Zen, I'm talking over you.
That's all right. I'm just going to make one comment. I was just going to say, if you have not heard that show, Roman gave a lot of really good practical tips and information on what you can do to prepare to use what time you have and what resources you have. Even if you have very little income and not much money to set aside at all, that we covered that on the last show. And also want to inform the listening audience that we're going to invite Rusty Shackelford to come back on with us and to do a focus on what people can do also with, what time, what resources, what space they have, and just kind of have a round table on all of that. But go ahead, Roman. We got 5 minutes, brother. I'd like to give you a chance for a final comment.
Zen, about all I got to say is I think time is very, very, very short. I think probably for most of those who haven't already made preparation, it's perhaps too late unless you've got an awful lot of loose dollars laying around that you can convert into something awful fast, because I truly believe that between now and the end of the year, and we may not even have an election, because we may have a war kick off and Obama declare martial law and stay right in office. I think there's a lot of people that don't really want to vote for Mitt Romney, but they just want to vote against Obama. Pretty well it boils down to anybody but Obama. But this is one of those elections where you hold your nose and vote, because either choice that you get is not good. Seemingly Romney's going to carry right on if he gets in, the same thing that Obama started. But I personally think that the Kenyan will continue his reign.
I'll tell you, me personally, Roman, I'm going to write in Yahushua Savior the Messiah as my vote for president.
I think everybody ought to write in none of the above, and the write-in candidate ought to win.
Yeah. Well, my stance
do it over.
My stance is with the Lord. So, but hey, brother, I want to thank you again for joining us, and Roman will be joining us again. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to be covering over the next few shows, but we will have Dr. Mandel join us to talk about that forced electroshock and that ungodly treatment and some of the torture that's going on and everything. But I just pray, Lord, that you watch over all of us, keep us all safe, help us to do all we can to stay in alignment with you, Lord, to stay in humble observance to your laws and to your commandments and to your direction and guidance for our lives, Lord. And I pray for our children and for the children of this world, the people of this world and this country, and all those that are so wayward and lost and that have no idea even as to the importance of the times that we're living in. And I just pray discernment and awakening for the planet, and especially for those that love you, Lord, so that we can get on board with what we can do with what little time we have left. In Yahushua Yahweh's name I pray. Amen. Take care, all. We will speak to you soon.
Then it's been a pleasure being on your show. Look forward to doing it again.
Absolutely, brother. We'll have you on again soon, brother. Take care.
Bye-bye.